Welcome to Startup Stories, where we go behind the scenes of some of the most interesting and innovative tech startups in the world. Each episode will bring you in-depth interviews with entrepreneurs and business leaders sharing their personal stories on success, failure, and everything in between. So whether you're an entrepreneur yourself or someone that's just generally interested in the world of startups, then Startup Stories is the perfect place for you to gain insight and inspiration into some of the most exciting players in the game. So sit back, relax, and join us on a journey of startup stories. Hendrik, welcome to the Startup Stories podcast. Nice to have you.
Thanks, good to be here. Hey, Jordan.
Pleasure. So to kick it off, I would like to run it right back to where it all began. But before we do that, could you give us a brief introduction into who you are?
Of course. So I'm by education started a long time ago as an engineer. Very, very early in this path found my way into the robotics. It's just a really, really fascinating domain. And the moment I came in touch with it, it absolutely hooked me. Before I wanted to study engineering, I was about to do quite the opposite, and I became a professional musician. And it was always hard decision between passion that I did for years, being in bands, being on stages, and also on the other side, this technical fascination that drove me my entire life. And then at some moment decided just to go for engineering and start studying this. And right in the middle of university, I came first across doing something with robotics. And since then, I'm now 13 years into this this business over various stations, and still love it. So when I left university, I went for quite a while into the research area. There's a large organization from Germany called Fraunhofer, I think one of the largest in the world, that are doing industrial applied research. And I did there a lot of things in robotics and fields that haven't been automated so far. Since we're here in Hamburg, where it's also my hometown when I'm born, aerospace is one of the largest industries here. So we did a lot of automation of how to build planes and how to deal with really large structures or equip planes from the inside, and really take it to the edge, what automation can do in terms of precision, in terms of collaborating with people. And I did my doctor thesis there in the field of mobile robotics, and then went to Switzerland to go into the first small robotics company. Been there for a short while, met somebody who I was lucky to join Neurorobotics in the very early days. Found a company that has been founded in 2019. Was lucky to be for more than 2 years the CTO of this company. And what we did during this time was really trying to teach robots how to have senses like humans. So bring all the senses in, like seeing, hearing, feeling, touching things, and combine this something that we called at this time cognitive robots. So have the ability to interact in a much more natural way than the robots traditionally do in very, very strict manufacturing lines. And it was a great time there. And right in the middle, it was quite in the middle of the pandemic, I drastically started to change my habits and how I personally eat, which is driven a lot from health history from my family. My father went through multiple heart attacks, sometimes pretty rough time. And at some point, my wife kicked me off to really start thinking about how food can affect all those aspects. And there's a moment where from day 1 to day 2 changed how I eat and how I also see the world. And at this moment, I was in the middle at being CTO there. We had 2 locations in Germany. We've been traveling to China together, and it was always on the road, always taking delivery food or going to small restaurants. And it was really hard and frustrating to try to adapt this new lifestyle that I thought is very good. And this was also the first time when I started to have interest for the industry of food service and of restaurants. And at the beginning, thought to myself, why it is so easy for me to just in a couple of minutes do something really good, really fresh at home, and why is it too hard to do this in a professional manner? Because those people have learned this, I haven't. And a very arrogant and very naive approach, of course, at that time. But pretty much find out what all the issues are to run a food business from multiple aspects, economically, especially after the pandemic. And with this interest and digging a little bit into it, then the idea came to mind, combining 2 worlds that now was a new passion and a new also personal mission, how I think food should have a very, very higher role in our daily lives than it currently have. especially in Germany. Germany is not known for the highest culinary excellence and the highest worth in what we eat on a daily basis. And also my long years profession of robotics. And with this experience and how humans and systems can work together, then the idea was born of building a product that can assist people in this industry area. And started the company then together with my two co-founders, Philip and Kevin, in 2021, actually.
Great. Appreciate that, Hendrik. I personally really look forward to diving into the ins and outs of your business personally, because nutrition and health is really, really important to me in my life. So before we do that, as I mentioned, what I'd love to do is understand who Hendrik really is. Like, you've got this great business, but let's run it right back to your earliest memory. What do I need to know about you from your earliest memory that will give me context about who you are today?
Yeah, so tech obviously really drives me. I can remember just days of my younger life when my mom hated it the most when they wanted to give me a birthday present, and I was always demanding for something like new chips for computers, like graphic cards. And it was for her the absolute worst that she sends me a piece of tech that she doesn't understand, that the moment I get it, I build it into a computer. She never sees it again. She has no idea what the benefit out of it. And it was the worst present for her ever. And this was very early in my young days. I had a lot of tech toys that I played with from Fisher Technic, Lego Technic, and so on, built this. So it was always a huge part of me. And it was beside of this passion in music and in arts and creative parts, it was always for me pretty sure that I somehow will to have something with tech. And I was also, on the other hand, very much interested in music technology. So in audio engineering and stage technology and so on. And this was a very hard part of my life since ever. And it definitely has to do something with that my dad is on the one side engineer as well. My mom is more coming from language side, so I had always the fight between do I go into languages or go into technology, and I probably my father's side won on that one. But it definitely had a hard influence during my childhood, that understanding, also just discussing or getting taught about physics, about universe and other things are working, and just having discussions with my father about black holes, about the theory in young ages. I was, I don't know, about 12, 13 when we discussed about black holes in our galaxy and things like this. And I had posters in my room of space rockets, of the space shuttle, like those planetary systems, and there was always this connection to science, to tech, I think that drove me over my entire path so far.
I mean, we can all be influenced by many different things in our lives, but there's often a reason why we gravitate to one thing and not the other. What was it about in those early days about tech and that sort of area? What was it about that made you think, I'm really interested in that?
For me, I think it is because it's really limitless. It starts with just small daily things that makes life easier, that you can play around with, that's just fun, to theories of how everything is connecting and how everything is working. So how, I don't know, why we're having gravity, why the universe exists as it is. It's with just the theory about it, it's just endless what you can do about this. And it's also has to do with a lot of joy. It's super cool having an idea, just putting something together, and then it's doing something. And no matter if it's useless or it really actually doing something. And when I also take a look of many of my friends or many of people who are working with us together, I think what all unites us and brings us together, that we're really having fun while doing this. Even we're sometimes cracking the hardest nuts or really digging into deep things. The fun about what we're doing is something I think that many people who are deep into tech are driven by. And I think if you discover this during the young days, that it's something that brings you joy, that you want to do day by day when you come home from school and you're looking forward to your tech tools you want to play around with. I think this is some of the core motivations why you keep doing it again and again and learning things, and then discover you can do more with it. But I think it all comes down to just having a good time with it.
do you think you could have excelled as much as you have in tech if you didn't necessarily love tech, but it was more just a job?
I don't think so. I don't think so, because most of the things, if you really are working on things that have major impact, that serve a purpose, or that really helps people, because today as a society, we are so far developed in technology. I think just take a look on the simple things in our lives we daily use on phones, how complex the technology already has become to just make everything that we do, from texting, phoning, having video calls, just possible. And having said this, I'm just meaning it's a really long journey, and you really have to be consistent on working on something to create something new. And you need endurance doing this, because you will probably fail many times before you reach something that is working. And if you're just doing this to earn money, or you're just doing this because you think you can make a good business out of it and earn something, I think you don't have the endurance and consistency to come back if you don't have a core driver in those joy or fascination that keeps you working and gets you up in the morning again.
Yeah, I agree with that 100%. And from the vibe that I'm getting from you when you speak about your business and what you love, I also get a huge hint of self-belief as well. Correct me if I'm wrong, but not everybody has that. So lots of people are interested in different things, but perhaps the self-belief are not there, so they don't necessarily pursue anything. Where would you say your self-belief comes from? Does that come from any influence from like your father or anything like that?
I mean, telling you that I always had this would be just a hard lie. And you see those posts from people who teach you to find something that you love, and then everything becomes very easy and you become very motivated. And people who have a hard time getting up, you just need to find what you love, and then everything will turn out to be very easy. It's pretty hard to find this, actually. And to be honest, there were a lot of lucky things in life that brought me to this way. So maybe 5 years ago, I wouldn't have the drivers that I currently have. There were already a lot of core elements about this, but especially the combination of what we're doing has developed over the last years. So cornerstones, 100% have been already started in younger ages, and just having this core motivation of doing things you love in technology, understanding it, and becoming really happy by solving things. But there's a lot of things in the last years, especially as you found a company. It's I'm not the greatest engineer here by far, and not I've done. To be honest, most of the things in the company that we have developed, I haven't done. I maybe have kicked off and maybe have discussed with half the theories, but I also found a lot of joy in creating teams and working with people and creating this leverage and bringing many disciplines together, trying to get the best out of them, and learning the things I need to learn as a leader to get out of great engineers as well, great things together. And this core belief in those things, that I want to make just better, fresher food accessible to the most people possible, that using technology, solving those problems, and to bring amazing people together to solve these issues, they have definitely been formed over the last years to the stage where I decided then, hey, it's time for me to do this now, and this feels right. And these topics with those people I have around me, with the experience I gained so far, everything has aligned now that I'm lucky to be able to do this.
Totally agree. And just touching on what we was already discussing, it could be anyone. Throughout your life, who would you say has had the single biggest influence on who you are?
That's a very tough one. I couldn't break it down to one single person. So okay. I think most of the things come from both of my parents in very different type of ways. I mean, over life, and also the people that joined us here in the very early days, I know some of them for more than 10 years, and definitely they took also a lot of part in influencing me. But from the support, motivation I got from those days, I would always bring it back to say they had a very huge impact on this. Also, the type of company that we try to be, what types of ethics we are following, what work styles we are having, how we live and embrace inclusion and treating everyone equal. Those core beliefs, I think, that have been set on how I was raised and what they taught me, what's important in life and what isn't. So if I had to make a choice, it's definitely them, and I couldn't pick one of them over the other.
Yeah, I like that. A good combination of both ultimately makes you who you are, which is good to hear. So can you think of a pivotal moment in your life that sort of gave you that aha moment to, you know, who you are today?
Recently actually. When I really can break it down to one single moment, it was when I changed what I eat. And I wouldn't have thought this before, but you start while doing this from a motivation of health, and this keeps you interested. And of course, we all know that probably most of us should be eating better, and still we're not doing this. And it's a very hard motivation to be very consistent on, since health issues not directly affect you. You see them over long term, and if you don't see them directly, then you pretty much quickly tend to change your habits again and go back to your to what you ate before. But I changed my diet to a very plant-based diet, and there are a lot of more things behind it. Of course, environmental impact, but also the ethics about how we treat animals, how our food system works, and at some level how absurd it also has become. So I'm definitely not somebody who is educating vegan, telling other people what they should do or shouldn't do. I think we should more embrace the days where eating meat on a Sunday was something special, and we also treated everything around this. It's the entire process of agriculture, of those things, more as something that has to have a higher rank in how we see it. And the mass industry behind this so far, it's just accessible everywhere. It's super cheap. Most of the people doesn't even know what's behind us, and haven't completely understand how the milk system, how the meat system and other things work. And I think we all know, but still we are putting it somehow out of our brain and not really going deep into this. And when you start going deep into this and you realize that many, many things you lived for like 20 years in your belief, you somehow realize, I don't agree anymore with all of those things. And you really sit like head shaking at home on a chair and saying, what the hell? And how could I not have seen those things that are so obvious? That has changed drastically my decisions. And this also kept me on track in trying to learn how plant-based food is working and all. Because when you start and you erasing many things out of your habits, you probably at the beginning don't know how to cook anymore. And this is then an entirely process of discovering new products, new recipes and new methods on how preparing things. But it was definitely where I can break it down to one single moment where I was there, so holy shit, I entirely just thrown over my belief in this area in one moment.
Yeah, I like that. I mean, how I explain it to my friends and family and anyone that I meet is I say, look, regardless of what diet choice you decide to have, whatever it is, eat single ingredient foods, whole foods, nutrient dense foods, try to go to local markets, try to get organic, so pesticide free. If you eat like that, regardless of your dietary choices, you'll be a whole lot better. So 100%. That's what I advise to anyone. So I really like your take on that. Okay.
100%, yeah.
So run me up to speed then. So you've told me about your childhood and sort of your early influences, which is fantastic. What was your very first job?
My very first job was let me think. It was during school, actually. I was working for, the watch brand Casio that do watches, calculators, and so on. They have a big headquarters north of Germany, and I was just helping out in the IT department, so fixing computers, rolling out software, and so on. It was really like twice a week after school. I've been working there for some time. First job that I started when I was about to move out and started university was as a waiter in an arena, and the loge area or VIP areas where food is served, drinks are served, and started there as a waiter to working beside university. It was pretty tough because you came at home 2-3 in the morning, had to go to a lecture at 8 in the morning again. So I was not very long in this job, to be pretty honest. It was too brutal for me. And after that, I looked for jobs then helping out in institutes, university, and somehow try to make something out what I'm learning to apply this in some job I had. Yeah, these are the first ones I had.
So despite it being pretty tough, what did this first job teach you?
Let's take the second one. The first job in IT was I was just of course very fascinating computers, and as I mentioned at this time was a very high hobby of mine, and I just could live my hobby in a job and help out, and it was pretty cool as long as it worked out for school and what they needed there. The second one was completely different since it was really in the service industry and something that I never did before, learning to what hosts hospitality in general means, and also how to deal with many different types of people. So the job that I did during school was pretty easy. I was helping people that having issues. You were always mostly welcome, and you were always called to fix something. That's not always the case in hospitality. You can meet various different types of people, sometimes being pretty rude, sometimes being pretty nice, sometimes tipping nice, sometimes not tipping at all, and just meeting all day over a bunch of new people that came from various different backgrounds with various different approaches and how they treat people. That was a very interesting learning, actually, because sometimes you went at home and you met such assholes that are treating everybody like shit, and you're really thinking about that. Why is it that way? And especially if you're in those VIP areas, you also meet people that have tons of money, that have very interesting lifestyles, so on. And that was overall very interesting experience, but sometimes also a very shocking experience.
Yeah, totally understand that. But all good learnings for the rest of your career, right?
Of course. I shouldn't, of course, at this time didn't know that I would ever have to do anything with this industry, and that hospitality can be such a great part of what I'm doing in the technology. At this time was just a job, and I knew somebody who had an entry there. And beside this, it was super interesting because you could watch ice hockey games, you could watch concerts when you had some free time. Was really fascinating on the one hand, but on the other hand, it taught you a lot of human interaction and just being in the service industry. Yes.
Okay. So you did explain already that the purpose behind going to the food industry was your father with the multiple heart attacks and stuff like that. So if it isn't too much of a sensitive subject, so you've been doing 13 years. Working for companies, you work for neurorobotics, all that sort of stuff. Tell me about the point where you was like, you know what, I've got this great idea and now I want to turn it into reality. Because let's be honest, many people have fantastic ideas, they talk about all the time, but very few actually decide to turn this idea into reality. So talk to me about that thought process leading up to it and the moment you decided to turn it into a reality.
Yeah, I never experienced this before, and also when I look back, it feels kind of strange and absurd in the mode I got during that time. And first, when the idea kicked off, so cannot tell that definitely we are the first who had the idea to combine robotics and food, and this is long ago back, and there are many single approaches that have been inspired, and also other companies having already started this. So once I discovered this and saw the basic principles of how you could prepare together with automation and those devices they already have built, I quickly discovered, hey, wait a second, I can roughly do about 80% what I'm eating at home already with what I have seen just online right now. And from that on, I started to dig down a rabbit hole, and then couldn't sleep proper anymore, was thinking about this during night. I remember when I was on a walk with my parents during Christmas, somehow I explained to them how ghost kitchens in the future will work and how automation and other things could affect this. And I was just reading and digging into this, and it was super interesting. I couldn't stop thinking about this. And at this moment, I realized this is something that I never felt before, and everything feels super right and super connected. And at some point, when you then, of course, start thinking about, hey, could make really sense to start a business, and you have the know-how, you have the background, you have the people that you know that you could bring together, there is this point where you either decide, hey, I'm gonna go for it, or I don't gonna go for it. And I also have to honestly say, since coming from middle-class family, having a good foundation at this time, having a beautiful wife who has a stable job, being in a very stable area in the world, where can you fall to, actually? What is the worst that can happen? So you won't be on the street. You won't have insecurities. What are you going to eat tomorrow? And realizing this standpoint, all of those decisions jumping over this point, starting this now, wasn't so hard anymore. It was more like the drive, everything is right, you can do this right now. And I think this realization is to just at some point let everything loose and discover that there is definitely, if it's not working out, there is a point jumping back, and you quickly will be, especially in the situation I was, and many people in the world don't have this situation and this easiness to go into there. But realizing this, it was not such a or not such a scary jump doing this. And what was a little bit scary, that I had no idea of the industry at all, and that I never met any person from the sector. I don't have any chefs or any people who work in the business in my areas of friends. And it was really a decision, okay, we're going to do this. We're going to know it's working out because timing seems to be right. We can pull this off. And we have to meet people. And at this point, I was sitting on my balcony, and also Kevin at that time, and we were just calling people and scrolling through LinkedIn and seeing, oh, he's a chef in a hospital, let's call him. Or that's an agency that are doing a lot of consultants from places I've been. All right, let's write them some sentences, what we're going to do. Maybe they'll listen to us. And it turned out that all of these people were interested and were listening to us. And this is also that I found out that is fascinating about this industry. It's so open. The people are not keeping secrets that you noted from the tech industry, and no one lets you in, and they're checking references and where you're coming from. They just see, hey, there is a crazy idea, and I see the need in my business. Of course, come by, work in our kitchen, see how it's working. And that's what we did. And we started to just go from burger places to canteens to work in those places and see how actually they're working. And from that, you met new people, and the network was growing. But this phase from starting, having no job anymore, starting to burn your own money, sitting on a balcony with no job, just having not a real plan actually how to start, besides the plan on how to build the technology, but not how to build a business out of this. This was somehow scary at the point, but it was already so much in my focus zone that at that time I didn't realize it. And later when I look back, then I saw, okay, it was kind of crazy. I never thought that I would go into such a situation, to be honest.
It really made me smile listening to all of that, because I feel like I've lived through every moment that you just talked about. When I was 23, I started my own recruitment business with the purpose and the passion to try and help as many companies as we can grow to where they want to be and whatnot. And I experienced very much what you were saying, that that you could not sleep, constantly thinking about the idea and what you can do with it. I miss those days. Do you miss those days?
Sometimes, yeah, still having those days, actually. We are having tons of new ideas, and there are so many opportunities. We're still in a very early growth phase here. So definitely there are things that keep me awake at night, but not in that intensity and in the first moments. And that's so driving forward, and you forget anything. And with this, I could sometimes forget about eating for 10 hours because I'm so locked in about those things. And that's also pretty funny when I compare how from just the type of person my wife are and I am. She can do tons of things in parallel. I'm super bad at this, but I'm a perfectionist in locking in and blocking everything out of my life. That's sometimes also a bad thing in private life, when you overhear something or when you miss something out or forget about something. But in building a company or following an idea or following a product, I think it's a very great characteristic to move forward. And yes, I love these days, absolutely.
Yeah, I know exactly what you mean with regards to the multitasking and being focused in every area of your life as well. And it's totally normal. If you're so locked in and so passionate about something, when people are talking about other things, you almost don't hear 75% of it. But that's just the way. And that's probably why it's led you to where you are today with such purpose behind GoodBytz. So let's dive into when you started GoodBytz. Was it 2021? Is that right?
It was 21, exactly.
Okay, cool. So you started this business in 2021. Talk to me about the things that surprised you that perhaps you did not expect when, starting your own business for the first time.
One of those things I just mentioned, I was absolutely surprised how easy people wanted to talk with us. And when you come from an automation background, you always face the problem, hey, you're killing jobs. And it's just a normal thing you just have to, on the one hand, live with. On the other hand, also find for yourself, is this really true? Or I'm seeing how we're evolving, how technology can support us, how jobs are adapting. And that also, if you look back in history, that it has always the way that new things have changed job. They also, at some point, all the jobs were not required anymore, but still most of the things have been very beneficial to where we are right now. So, and coming into the industry, you of course have very much the fear of this, because there is, I think, not much comparable industry that is so romantic, creative-driven, and people have such individual personal connections about what they eat, how they eat, what memories and connections they have with food. And they are so different also if you take a look on different regions in the world, how Italians have a connection to food in comparison to somebody who's coming from Germany, as an example. And to be honest, we were really scared on being hardly rejected by especially those people who do the daily work. So people like chefs, like people who assist in kitchens, not the people who drive the businesses. For us, it was pretty clear that they see the advantages and that the world is going there, and that labor shortage and everything that has changed since the pandemic and so on, that it makes a lot of sense to do this. And also with the argument that we really focus on quality food, on fresh food, and that we make something better in the food world and not just take very cheap convenience food and build a machine that can somehow warm it up and distribute it to people. That was definitely helping with this, but still, it's for people who have been working 20, 30 years in this business and maybe have never thought that something like this can come around the corner and can cook a complete fresh meal. That can also be very scary, and I was very scared that we get hard rejections and hard discussions from the people who come from this industry. But this was 100% not true, because they really know how professional kitchens work. And most of the guys who are not in this industry have no idea. We romanticize it. We have this need that somebody is bringing a personal touch and some creativity while he's preparing the food for us in there. But it's just hard and very, very tough business that is, for most of us, pretty much hidden in the dark. Since most of the kitchens are not open, and those kitchens that are open are designed to be open, that it looks nice, but most of them are in the basement or are in the back, and they are dark, and people are sweating, and it's hot, and it's small, and it's long hours, and they're working till night, and long when you're at home, closing your evening, which you enjoyed at the restaurant, they are still cleaning up, they are still doing preparations for the next day. And with all this knowledge, then you also understand why they're not rejecting the technology, why they're very open, and they're seeing that it can help if you do it right. Of course, there are always discussions from people who have no really relation to professional gastronomy, because they think this way, hey, I want to be cooked and be served by a human and not by a robot. But that's, in my opinion, just because they don't have an idea on how the job really is. And this was very surprising for us to find out that we are not being rejected by the industry. It's quite the opposite. We are welcomed with open arms, and that has also a lot to do with the success we're having so far, that so many people who are working in the industry and coming from them pushed us, supported us, networked, and introduced us to the next one and the next one. And definitely this was a surprise for us in the early days, yes.
Yeah, that is actually very interesting. So you're 3 years deep now. Has it been quite a seamless journey for the last 3 years, or have you had any moments where it's been a bit like self-doubt or any sketchy moments?
I've been asked this question already multiple times, and my answer always to this is, when you're doing hardware, you have to have a certain level of tolerance of pain, because it's pretty hard to do so. And of course, you do multiple fails and things are getting slower as you want them, and you think it's working this way and it's not working this way. But luckily, many people, including me, doing those things for quite a long time, and they accept it and know it, and also maybe sometimes value it, that it's not too easy for everybody to build. And if we succeed, that it's kind of special what we have pulled off, that this is not what I would count as doubt or hard fails, so on. It's just something that's normal if you want to build a product like this. Beside this, actually, it has been a pretty smooth ride. There are always projects that turn out to take longer, and processes being more complex than you thought. But so far, everything has built on another. Everything has turned out pretty great so far, and there's still a lot of challenges ahead of us. But we never had this moment where we were close to giving up, where everything was so tight that we didn't know if we can open the doors tomorrow anymore. So a lot of lucky combinations that I guess has a lot to do with the timing we luckily hit, with what product decisions we met, with the people we brought on board, and also with the fantastic support we got from all the people on the outside. Just want to have those products and want to use them and want to test them, and communicating about this. So yeah. This is my take on that. So far, I'm very happy that those sleepless nights that I had so far were mostly thinking about what we can do next and how we can change or adapt our product, and not because of fear moments of not knowing what to do tomorrow.
Mm-hmm. Well, it sounds like you've had the good luck charm above you for the last 3 years, which is pretty good. And I'm sure there will be moments where it is a little bit difficult, but sounds like to me you're prepared for that. You're not, obnoxious to the point where you don't think it's never going to be challenging, which is good.
Oh no.
So you got your Series A in October 23, is that right?
Yes, correct. Yeah.
So getting that funding, what's that done for the business?
The 2 years before we did the Series A, it was really about building the fundamentals of the product. So starting from prototype, doing pilot operations. We had our own ghost kitchen in Hamburg, which was pretty successful. And we came to the point where the product was really ready to scale up onto rollout. And the funding had also the clear goal of growing infrastructure. We've been moving to a new location where I'm right now located, a couple of thousand square meters of manufacturing space where we're building up our final assembly line, where we have all our R&D centers, test kitchens, showrooms, luckily all at one place. And from here right now, starting not only doing the first rollouts, but also to building the fundamentals of being able to really produce those systems in the first quantity of a series production. So we are currently rolling out single units. We're fastly picking this up and then doing 2 a month, 3 a month. And for the next year, we're having then the goal to go about 100 systems we're building and delivering in a year. And the Series A is designated for building everything in infrastructure and people, the manufacturing team, operations team, customer success team, who train our customers, who roll the systems out, and of course support people who are new to this area and need to know how to deal with robots and how to adjust their operations in the kitchen. That was the purpose and the goal of the Series A, where we're just in the middle right now.
And you've obviously done very well to be this successful after 3 years. So I'm curious, what do you think has been the key ingredients to your success so far?
That's a very tough one. I think many things play together. I think the number one thing that I would call out is we very early built this principle that we called culinary or food first. It means for us that we try to let quality and how things are done in a normally kitchen to be our number one requirement on how we build our machines. Because there are a lot of easy approaches on how you can change the supply chain, how you can change the processes or adjust recipes and so on to be able to automate. And I think with all the learnings we had during this to really understand how our kitchen operations work, how you need to clean those things, how you purchase ingredients and at what state they are prepared outside or what you're doing inside, how are normally food operations be done in the kitchen when people are available, when you're your peak times and whatever. taking a look on this perspective that you see, in the end, it only matters what's coming out there. It's of course cool to watch, and if you've seen a video, then for most of the people it looks quite fascinating, and every time a person's standing the first time in front of the robot, first thing he's doing, pulling out his phone, making a video, sending it to friends, posting it, and that's definitely a cool effect, and I love that people love what we build on the aesthetics and how it looks like. But in the end, a person will never come back twice or a third time if the end result that's coming out is shitty, and it's just about the entertainment. And there are places in the world like entertainment parks where it doesn't matter so much if the entertainment factor is number one. But in the food business, it's regardless if it's a robot and how the robot looks and how it works. In the end, it all comes down to is it a real good quality meal? Does it taste good? Is the experience nice? Do I have maybe been greeted by a nice host? Do I feel comfortable in the restaurant? And everything around that creates the experience. That's very important. And we did a lot of design decisions and product decisions around this principle. And I think in the end, this is also why most of the positive support we got from the industry is coming from, because we're receiving tons of feedback that always say, oh, we have thought through everything. And to be honest, there are probably millions of things we haven't thought through so far, but the perception of our customers is we have thought of many, many things that they would point out right at the beginning that can be very problematic with their experience to be a real professional operator or chef. And I think this single principle helped us a lot to come from the right approach, that we are just a tool, we are just a platform that people work with, and at the end it's about what's on the plate, and that's it.
Absolutely love that. So what I got there is that you've absolutely led with quality first before anything, which is what anyone wants from a product, right? As you said, you want people to come back again, not just say the entertainment was good, the quality, more importantly.
Yeah, and it's really, of course, it also applies to the product itself. It has to be reliable, and we also have to do a lot of engineering decisions that also follow quality principles. But projecting this onto only the dish and the recipe, then in the end, the ingredients have to be cooked perfectly. You want to stir fry things, you want to steam things, you want to do all the things that you can do manually to come to this result that we built the technology around to make it possible, even if it's sometimes pretty hard. And the easier way to have a product earlier in market would be just to change a little bit the preparation steps or take other ingredients or cut them in a different way. That's our take on what quality is about.
Okay. And what are your long-term goals with GoodBytz? How far do you want to take this?
Just speaking of the entire food supply chain or food chain, there are so many things currently that not only where currently our products are targeting in the end preparation of meals that go to restaurants, to corporate canteens, to frequency locations. There are also many steps before where you also know the worlds of mass industrialization. And like food we found in supermarkets, the frozen food that we found, where is of course a lot of machinery, with a lot of automated, and everything that is more into a traditional way of harvesting them, of preparing them, either goes to industry or is very manually driven. So for our long-term strategy, it's just simple sentence: take a look at the entire chain from farm to fork, from farm to fork, sorry, and see wherever the type of solutions that we're having can benefit and can assist people. So we're already taking a look into smaller production kitchens and seeing on a little bit larger scale to not produce a couple of hundred dishes, but to pre-produce a couple of thousand or 10,000 dishes where our technology can assist and build ready-to-eat meals, or do pre-preparation cook steps that then in very, very small outlets can be prepared. There's also a lot of applications. So taking many years in advance, I think there are so many opportunities along the food chain where those smart and modular automation devices that we are doing can play a very important role. And
And I want to talk about your personal motivators. Now, I know you touched on this a little bit at the beginning around your father and whatnot, but, you know, when people taste a little bit of success, which you have, you know, you've got a great business, you've been going for 3 years now, often people then get a little bit complacent and comfortable, for many. So what I'm curious to know is what still motivates you to this very day? Why do you keep pushing? What gets you out of bed in the morning?
It's definitely one part is the moments people tasting for the first time what the systems can do and realizing that it's actually with what we're doing pretty easy on the one hand to now eat better. And I think we just, even though it has been quite some years, doing a hardware product just is such a longer journey. So having real success, I wouldn't say we build great products, we have great opportunities, but the real success is if we prove that our technology can be rolled out in masses and really assist many people and reach many people. And in the end, the motivation started when we did our, or the motivation I'm currently having started when we did our ghost kitchen back in 2021. We did an entire plant-based Asian fusion concept. No one knew actually that the robots were behind it. We just listed this on Lieferando and tried to see how the reviews are and if people are buying this. And it was one of the first days where the realization was there, and this is also because I've never been in the food business in that way. You always do big machinery and do robots for years and years and years. And at the end, then the customer is taking it over, or you close a research project. But we built this thing. We launched our ghost kitchen, and we sold 150 meals on one of the first days. And you just realize, okay, I motivated 150 people this evening to eat plant-based. And some of them leave fantastic reviews. And it's the leverage we created in this moment to say we can do this now day by day and reach 150 people who made a great food choice that maybe wouldn't have done this before. And they had maybe chosen a pizza place they've delivered or something else. And realizing the amount of food that our systems can produce. And if you just have a couple of hundred then over Europe, how many people you're reaching with this and how many impact you're having on daily choices of people eating, this I think is massive. And this is still something that will probably motivate me for years, hopefully. And let's see when we are there. But right now, the challenge to really make this happen and not just have this on single locations and reach a couple of thousands people, but going into millions. I think this is the goal.
And I've got one last question. It's a bit of a tough question. I'm really interested to get your take on this, right? So after speaking with lots of entrepreneurs, both on podcasts and in person and just general life, right? For many, being that entrepreneurial sort of type A personality, it's sometimes no matter what we do, what we achieve, who we reach, sometimes it's not always enough, but then for some it is. Do you think there is a point with GoodBytz where you'll reach a point and be like, you know what, at this point I'm really happy with all of my accomplishments? Or do you think the idea of it never being enough is what serves us as humans to keep the purpose, keep the motivation, even for many, many, many years?
I think it's fair to say that I have a belief that if I really take a long look into life, what will come into life, and not just project maybe on the next couple of years, that it's fair to say that purpose might change. And that you found something new that drives you or that makes you very happy. And I wouldn't say that it's always about the idea that I've never enough building this to a large scale. I think there will be also some point where it's mainly about making the business more productive and just maintaining it and reaching the small little advantages to just have a better organization. And at this point, I might be even the right person to do the job anymore. And I could imagine that there's a level where I'm completely fine with. I'm happy with I have achieved what I have made possible, and it's time to just change course of life. I wouldn't say, and it's probably not my type, since I always have something I was running after, and I never had so far a moment of my life when I started my professional career where I had a normal routine of getting up at 8, being at work at 9, leaving my job at 5, and then just doing something. My wife would agree. When she met me, I was in the middle of doing my PhD thesis. After this, the next project came, and the next project, and the next one. And It's always like this, so I probably won't rest and won't just do nothing and enjoy. Maybe if at some point this might be a very successful and also financially wise, just buy a boat and sit somewhere and looking to the sun. That's probably not me. But definitely it will be a full point that it might change, and I have something other that I want to dedicate my hours and my energy to. Yeah. But I see this not coming for a long time right now. But I think it's only fair and realistic if you say, I hopefully have many years in front of me, and what's coming in this time, I don't know. And there's a probability that it might be something completely different.
Yeah, Hendrik, I appreciated your take on that. I always feel like it's a good question to ask, because I feel like when you look at humans in general, you would probably say that it's never enough for most of us. That's why innovation happens, right? That's why we went from horses to cars and whatnot. So it's a good thing, but I liked your take in saying that, the purpose may change. Everything has an end point. You may get to a point where, I've done my service there. I feel like I've built something fantastic. Here's the new purpose. Here's the new journey. And I think that comes through time and age as we evolve as individuals, right?
Absolutely.
So, yeah.
And if you just take a look on nature, nothing lasts forever. If you take a look even on the oldest trees, and they might be a couple of 100 years old, there will be some point where they will falling down and something else will grow on top of this. And I think this is true for everything. Humanity is absolutely driven, and I 100% agree, by wanting more. And I think the entire system of capitalism only works if we're doing more, if we're being more productive, if we're doing more business. That's what is one of the most driving factors in everything. But if you just break it down to a personal life, there will be an indefinite point of end of life, and this also can be during life much earlier that you decide to focus and direct yourself to something else.
Yeah, beautifully put. So we'll leave it on that note. Hendrik, thank you so much for joining me on the Startup Stories podcast. Loved learning all about your business and your passions and why you are who you are. And I'm keen to keep following GoodBytz's journey and see how far you do take it. So thank you so much for joining me on the podcast.
Really appreciating being here. I'm having a great time with you. Thanks.
Pleasure. Thanks for listening to this episode of Startup Stories. I hope you enjoyed hearing from our guests and learning more about their journey in the startup world. Of course, we'll be back soon with another exciting episode featuring a new guest. So make sure to subscribe to our podcast so you never miss an episode. Also, don't forget to follow us on social media for updates and additional content. And lastly, if you have any suggestions for guests or topics you'd like to hear about, then let me know. All feedback is appreciated. Thanks for listening, and I'll see you next time.